Hey, what's up, everybody? BDF44 coming at you with another video. All right, right here, right now, we're talking about the Los Angeles Lakers facing the Phoenix Suns. And why am I presenting it this way? Because this is the test to see if we've really turned it around or if we just beat teams that absolutely had no interest in winning and it really didn't matter how bad we played, we would have won anyway. That's what we're here to find out. The Phoenix Suns are a team right now that's missing Chris Paul. Now, normally we'd be like, oh my goodness, that's like an opportunity for us to jump on in here and just be able to take over. But that is not the reality of the circumstance because Cam Payne is playing like really, really good Cam Payne right now. Every once in a while, Chris Paul will miss pockets of the season and Cam Payne will come in and play like an all-star. This is that time right now. It's happening. We're in the middle of it. So we got to be aware that Cam Payne is playing that way. He's got his starters minutes, and you just got to assume he's going to be his best self. Devin Booker's Devin Booker, and he's going to Devin Booker it. So be ready for that. And the thing that stands out for me in regards to looking at the Phoenix Suns last game is the rebounding total. They had 60 rebounds against the New York Knicks, and I looked at the centers that the New York Knicks have. They have my guy Hartenstein, Jericho Sims, one of the highest, flyest jump axe leapers you've ever seen in your entire life. Obi Toppin, another highest, flyest jumping. I don't know why they drafted all these dunkers, but they got two of them now that can jump out the gym in New York. And Robinson, who's also down there, who should be able to get boards. So the fact that they were able to rebound to that degree over those guys tells me that we're going to have to rebound the ball very well if we want to have any shot against them. We've been averaging like 40 rebounds a game, and normally the teams we've gone against been averaging about 40 rebounds a game. If they rebound like they did against the Knicks against us, we're not going to have a chance. So we gotta understand that. Bismack Biyombo had 10 rebounds. Walter, I don't know if his name is Walter or not, but Wainwright, whatever his first name is, he had 7 rebounds. Ayton had 11 rebounds. If we're going to have any shot against this team, crashing the boards and boxing out and keeping them off the glass is going to probably be where we get it done. Because if we allow them to rebound the way they're capable of rebounding, it's good night for us. Another thing that's going to be very interesting is who's going to have the most players in double figures, because both the Lakers and the Suns had a ridiculous amount of players in double figures in their previous matchups. We had 7, they had 6. So whose supporting cast is going to play well enough to keep that going and get this thing going? Fact of the matter is, these are two teams that are playing very well right now. Two teams that are missing key players right now. And two teams that are playing better because of it. That's the God's honest truth. But we don't know if our key player who's been helping by sitting, is coming back or not. And his name is LeBron James. Fact of the matter is, the numbers tell you the truth, and the eye test tells you the truth as well. We're just a better team without him this year. As I figured out last night, I figured out anyway, I believe this team was actually constructed to withstand his injuries, to win games if he's not here. And I think it's functioning that way as he's away. We're seeing that it's actually meant it's meant to do that. And so we're winning games without him against teams we're supposed to win. I don't think we can beat teams that we're not supposed to win. Against some of those teams, we're going to have trouble if we give up the type of performance that we did in those 3 games. But I will tell you this, we are still happy with the way that we're performing, and even if we would have lost those games, given what we saw in those games, we know that we're getting better. So the fact that we were credited with 3 straight wins makes us feel great about going into a matchup where we know this team, for a change, would like to see a victory tonight against us. Unlike Detroit and San Antonio. And in Brooklyn, it's just so bad, it didn't even matter. They tried, it didn't matter. So it's one of those situations where it's like, we know we got San Antonio coming up after this, 2 games in a row. Then we got Indiana coming up after that. So it's not going to be too many tests for us. We should win games whether we're playing well or not. This is the game to tell us if we're for real or if what we're doing is just a byproduct of our schedule being smushed together with a bunch of tanking teams this week. Whatever the case may be, so far so good. You got to take the wins that are there for you to take, and this one is not necessarily that. This is a game where if you get the victory, you need to be happy and celebrate and truly patting yourself on the back, because this is a measuring stick for what you are about. We've had a start to the season where we didn't have our system in place. Russell Westbrook hadn't settled into his role. Anthony Davis, we were having trouble with him. All of these different things we've shaken off. 3-point shooting woes. Our percentages have come up to a respectable point. Although they've waned off a little bit over the last couple of games, I don't think it's to the point where we have to be concerned about the 3-point shooting right now. I think, we're not a good shooting team as it pertains to our efficiency, but we have scaled back our attempts so that we can kind of help ourselves in that way, and that's what I would love to see. And then as of late, of course, as I said, several players in double figures. I think it was 7 players in double figures. That's a byproduct of guys just running more plays with one another instead of having one person taking away so much from the other guys. Bron is shooting threes, walking into them off of rebounds, off of defensive rebounds, and bricking them, and then they get rebounded and they turn into possessions for the other team so fast. Till we find ourselves with guys having 4 and 5 possessions in a row without them ever touching the ball, and how can they stay engaged? Meanwhile, we have personalities that, if guys aren't winning, if we aren't doing well, you're going to have issues. And I think that's one of those situations where you want to continue to see the success that we've been keeping. And we're hoping that the return of LeBron James doesn't have it so that we're back in the same hole that we were in as it pertains to other guys' production. Austin Reeves has taken this opportunity to affect scoring in a way that we've been calling him out to. Wenyen Gabriel has taken these minutes and run with him and has played better. As I predicted we would. Anytime we put him on the floor, we tend to be a better team. Obviously, Anthony Davis is getting the ball in the second half as a focal point, since we had a simultaneous situation of us losing, having his numbers not match from the first half to the second half, and then ultimately running into some teams that he was able to dominate because of our size. It just made for a perfect storm for him to be able to heal up from the injuries that he was dealing with, run into these teams that he's capable of dominating, and ultimately taking advantage of the opportunities given to do so. And he's been rebounding like crazy, scoring like crazy, getting defensive stats, and ultimately helping us a lot by being efficient at the line, consistent at the line, and getting those fouls drawn for those guys against him. So when we run through things through Anthony Davis, we feel like we have an opportunity to beat anybody when he's playing like he's been playing these last 3-4 games. So the thing about it is, this is not that type of matchup. As I mentioned to you guys, they got a bunch of centers down there that they are dealing with in regular rotation. Ayton is one of the best conditioned centers in the league. I think Biyombo is also one of the more powerful centers coming off of your bench, playing defense and rebounding. It's just going to be a much different matchup for a guy like Anthony Davis, who was going up against some of those smaller teams, or some of these teams only got one center. We were able to kind of take advantage of them. Look at Detroit. They didn't have Stewart on the floor, no Cunningham. Jalen Duren's birthday, and then he got in foul trouble in that game. It was no one down there. We had what was the guy's name? I don't even remember the power forward's name, but the biggest player on the team was not able to do anything against Anthony. And then you look at the Brooklyn situation. If I'm not mistaken, Claxton went out in the first half. Didn't he? He suffered an eye injury or something of that nature that pulled him out of the game. They didn't have no center down there, so we were able to accumulate a lot of boards. And then in this previous matchup, we were able to also do the same thing, because San Antonio doesn't have Pirtle down there at the time. They didn't have really anybody to do anything against him other than Bassey, the young guy that's coming along, and a few of their other centers. I think it was Gorgie Dang, who we know is never going to have any success against Anthony Davis at all. So it's one of those situations where we have to acknowledge that Anthony Davis has had some very soft matchups for his position, and this is not going to be that. So if he can continue to put up the numbers that he's been putting up against Phoenix, then we can really praise him for what it is that people have been praising him for all week. But to be honest with you, there was little room for him to fail, particularly on the boards against any of these 3 matchups. And so he's going to have an elbow on his back today. He's going to have somebody pushing on him today. And his backup centers are going to have to play well with the minutes. Thomas Bryant has been excellent since coming back. Obviously, he's only been back for 2 games, but this last game he gave us 10.7 rebounds. We're going to need him to play extremely well against Bismack Biyombo. We're going to need him to play extremely well against DeAndre Ayton when he's on him. I don't know if we're going to call Damian Jones' number or not, but that center position is going to need to be accounted for. You cannot go out there thinking you're going to go against this particular Phoenix Suns team and not account for the size. You will lose. And that's not even talking about what Devin Booker is going to be doing, what he's capable of doing to you. So that's what I'm looking at, man. There's a guy by the name of Damian Lee. He's on the map. We know who he is. He ain't just Steph Curry's brother-in-law. This is a brother who can shoot the ball with a lot of talent. And I am aware at this point he's turned into a real scoring punch player for the Phoenix Suns. And with Chris Paul out, he must be accounted for from behind the arc particularly. He finishes well too. So we need to be very, very aware of Damian Lee Damian Lee. That kid is a really, really, really sharp shooter, and he's getting the minutes. Also, given the fact that we're expecting Landry Shamet to be missing this game as well as Chris Paul, that's just more minutes for him. So, yeah, keep an eye on that guy. They have a kid by the name of Landau, I believe his name is. Lawndale. I think it's Lawndale. I don't know if he's hurt or not. I didn't see him in the previous game as a part of the stats, so I don't know if he's just kind of scratched from the rotation or something. I don't know. But if his number gets called, he's a productive player. He was mentioned as one of the players who had been finding fantasy value about 3 weeks ago when I made a video about some of the players I was seeing on the Raven Wire doing well. It's another big for the Phoenix Suns. So I don't know what's going on with him, but if we see his number tonight, or if somebody by the name of Landau or something like that goes off, you will at least know that I could have possibly said his name wrong, but we'll be aware that he's somebody to be aware of. Torrey Craig, another person you have to deal with on the boards, another person who's going to shoot the ball from the corner, who's going to try to make life hard on us. We're going to need to keep Wenyen Gabriel involved in this game. We're going to need the aggressiveness of Troy Brown to return, since he's been very bashful in these last couple games, if you ask me. We're going to need, again, Thomas Bryant, Anthony Davis. All those guys are going to have to play very well. In the last game we had excellent guard play to go along with fantastic Anthony Davis play. I think guard play is going to be equally as important tonight, going up against those guys. Devin Booker is an underrated defender, so we're going to have to understand that he's going to be affecting things on the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, you're dealing with Mikal Bridges, the NBA's Iron Man. He doesn't miss any games, so he's going to be playing tonight. This is a guy who's going to rebound the ball. This is somebody who has had issues shooting the ball lately, 3-point shooting efficiency issues, but I don't think he's somebody you can feel comfortable leaving from behind the arc most years. This is an aberration. He's going to hit his three. He's just going to do things to help the team. He's a glue guy, and he's going to get in the passing lanes, of course. Block, as I always say. He's another one of them dudes that's going to be a thief. So if you take chances around him, it's going to be a high turnover night. So that's the thing about Phoenix. Between him and Cam Payne, I just look at those guys that I expect to get steals. And then I look at the rebounding total of those guys in the previous game, and I just know the boards are going to be something that we're going to have to pay attention to. So turnovers and rebounds. If we get screwed in those two categories, we're not going to beat the Phoenix Suns. Simple and plain. We absolutely must, take care of the basketball tonight. And also, we did an amazing job against the San Antonio Spurs at not fouling, but I don't think that had a whole lot to do with us. I think that had to do with the Spurs' strategy in regards to how they were attacking their offense. And if you watch my video, I have a very specific idea about how Keldon Johnson was told to kind of go out there and just throw possessions away. And I think that catered to why there were no fouls called against him, because they weren't really attacking. He was shooting the three, he was deliberately missing it, and it was positioning us to get easy rebounds to Anthony Davis and then proceeding to allow us to score in the paint. That's how the game went pretty much all night. Keldon Johnson carrying the basketball off of the rim into Anthony Davis's hands. That's exactly what I saw. They were lobbing each other's stats. Well, Keldon was lobbing him rebounds. It's the truth. And as a result, the San Antonio Spurs were able to lose. Of course, putting them, in a position to get one step closer to their lottery goals. And puts us in position to kind of just capitalize. You know what I mean? Take the win. As I told you guys in that video, I thought if the NBA was in a perfect world, they would just chalk that game off as a win for the Lakers and a loss for the Spurs, and nobody has to run at all, because both teams could agree that that's what's best for them, and nobody needs to get hurt. But that's not the world we're in. So, but yeah, that's how it went, man. So as I look at the rebound total and I look at all these different things and why we didn't foul, I say I don't know that had much to do with us, but we would be wise to try not to foul this team. Keep them off the line if at all possible. I look at some of their matchups. The fact that they are missing Chris Paul, the fact that they are missing Landry Shamet, they are a bit thin, even though they do play a good team game. Obviously, 6 players in double figures. When you look at who those players were, you don't expect those guys to really ball out every night. Those are good matchups for our players when our players are playing well. Just like I said about the Nets in Detroit and of course San Antonio. They have role players that our role players can see. And that was the difference between some of the teams that we ran into in the first 13 games of the season. We were running the contenders, and because we had role players that weren't confident, didn't have a system in place, all these different things, we were just getting beat every night, beat. Running to Utah, they blow us out. And it's just like, okay, now that we have some things in place from going against them good teams, we know tendencies we need to work on. We've worked on them. We know players we can lean on and who we can't trust. We put them in positions to succeed, sit them down, or what have you. And now that we know who we are, I think our coach is using guys better. Austin Reeves is being used completely different than he was initially. These different things are working. Now we have Wenyen Gabriel in regular rotation. He wasn't being used at all. So Russell coming off the bench completely changed that around because now our pieces fit so much better. Now that he's willing to do that, that is a great deal of difference in regards to what was going on then versus now. So it's like we're settled into who we needed to be. The problems that we had are gone. The biggest of them all was Russell Westbrook not coming off the bench and that starting lineup being so jumbled together without shooters. That situation's behind us. So the only thing left to figure out is, can LeBron James slip back into this lineup and not create the problems that he had, that the team had when he was in there before he got hurt? Because everything is going well right now, and that is my biggest concern as a fan. I don't want him coming back and then the problems return. Guys get a little clammy. Russell Westbrook's energy get bad. Anthony Davis takes a back seat in the second half, and now we can't get him the ball. We're taking bad shots, and he's taking plays off, talking to referees as the defense transitions the other way into a score. I mean, these are the type of things that directly cater to the Lakers losing basketball games. Directly. On top of the Russell Westbrook starting, on top of other guys not playing well, on top of our system and all that stuff being out of place. So if you guys follow me enough, you hear me talk about Dennis Schroeder's tenure with the Lakers when he was with us and went into health and safety protocol 2 years back and ultimately came back to a different team. And because he was coming back to a different team, he had different things he needed to accomplish. And I think that put him in a slump and ultimately spiraled him into position to why his free agency ended up tumbling all the way to where it is now with him back with the team today. I refer to that because I think LeBron James is entering into a situation where it's the same thing. When you got hurt, the team was different. When he got hurt, we were struggling. We couldn't get a basket. We were talking about we need to send people home. We talking about Kendrick Nunn. We didn't want to see him on the floor no more. Since he's went out, Kendrick's been efficient. We've had guys have efficient games. We've had guys have smiles on their faces as they play basketball. We're seeing situations where dudes that are coming back from injury. Now we got TB and Schroeder back. You're coming back to a different team. So if he comes back and plays in this Phoenix game, my concern is that all of the goodwill that's been done with the team gets undone because he's going to come in looking for a shot and his rhythm and all of that. And as I listen to Laker Nation and all the fans, all the pundits, they all unanimously feel the same way I do. We just don't want to see other guys struggle trying to incorporate the king back into this thing. And so in my mind, I would much rather him come back when we're playing against San Antonio and we know the team that we're going up against doesn't necessarily want to win. But if we're going to beat a team that's a measuring stick for us, then we have to understand that the premise that we must be married to is the understanding that when it really matters, we can't really beat these teams without LeBron James. You can't. You might be able to get a regular season game like tonight, but if you don't find a way to work him back into this thing, you ain't going nowhere. I don't care how good you think you can get with Anthony Davis and Russell Westbrook. You are not going to be as good as you need to be, and it ain't going to make no sense. So he's going to have to, whether I like it or anybody else likes it, he's going to have to find his way back into this thing. And then when he gets back into this thing, we can't force him to feel guilty for not being someone other than himself. And that's why it becomes frustrating. It's like, look, I don't know that I want him to do anything but be his best self. And if he has to not be his best self, I don't like what I see there. I felt the same way about Russell. I feel the same way about AD. If you can't be your best, I want you to sit down. You know what I mean? So that's what it really comes down to. It's like, I kind of don't want him to play tonight because I'm very much worried he's going to come back, jack up 5 3-point shots. All of them going to brick. Mess up 3 defensive assignments where other young guys, they just want to play, man. They don't care that they're 5 games under 500. You know what I mean? They don't care. They want to get back on defense because they got the energy to do it, and their careers on the lines, and they love what they do. So it's like if LeBron still had that youthful energy like KD appears to have, where he just want to play with anybody no matter what, then it would be dope because we know we can do certain things that can get the most out of ourselves. And once you take a disciplined basketball team against a field full of youngsters, like what we have out there in this NBA, you might have a chance to win the games. You might have a chance to overachieve something and do some things that maybe you're not expected to do. But if you're mining on the right stuff and you focus on the problems and you focus on whatever negative energy that you're on, then you're going to have that trickle down to other people as the leader. And that's ultimately what we've been vibing off of in regards to Bron. And we've been complaining about it a lot. And so when he sat down with that injury, it was like one of the things where I was like, I don't know if he's faking this or not. But I'm glad he's doing it because I think he needs to remove himself from this lineup in order for them to find their confidence. And that's what we found. That's exactly what we found. He was the problem. And I know a lot of people don't want to say that. They don't. But I don't care about that, bro. Like, how do I convey this the right way? When LeBron's playing well, I'm gonna sing his praises. You know what I'm saying? Like, I won't deprave him of the truth. When he's balling out, he's gonna get the best from me. But when he's not playing well, I'm gonna tell the absolute truth. I'm not here to coddle minds or make people feel like some people are more important than others based on status. That's just not how I roll. I don't care about that, man. I'm about the science of basketball. So if your piece is going to work for me, cool. Until you're not, then you're gone. And then we move in with another piece and then just keep on playing the game. So, you know, the politics of the game and all that often move the game itself and how we see it. It fuels what it is that we see, but it doesn't mean that we're going to continue to keep up the bull crap when we're assessing what it is that we see. No, the hypocrisy just has to meet. The rubber meets the road. You know what I mean? And we'll just tell the truth. And so that's what it is. I like the King and what he's brought to the table for the last 5 years. I think he can help any basketball team when he's focused on helping the team. But when he's focused on passing Kareem, he ain't a winner. You know, and that's why I don't want our organization to encourage that nonsense, because it's not a goal that we care about. It's a goal that we're patronizing him over that he shouldn't even care about. We're encouraging the bullcrap. The same bullcrap that he's been encouraged to feel and care about for 20 years, that they're going to ridicule him for not winning enough because he cared so much about. Nah, I'm not gonna keep that nonsense up. That wasn't for the betterment of LeBron James' legacy. Paying attention to things that help him be better is what's best for LeBron James' legacy. You know, when I was listening to KD talk about how his legacy is, other players being better, the players around him being better. That is LeBron's legacy based on the fact that he's a passer whose game is supposed to make people better. You know, people were getting on KD because they were like, yo, KD, that's not your functionality. You're a scorer. You're a killer. You're supposed to go out there. Whether Edmund Sumner's playing well or not, it doesn't matter. Your legacy is based on whether or not you destroyed your opponent, not improve your teammates. But I think if those words came out of LeBron James' mouth, it would probably be better suited for his style of play. Because I want him to care if Austin Reeves is balling out and care less about passing Kareem, to be honest with you. I do. I really would rather him feel that way, because I think that's going to help him reach his goals as a winner. Because once Austin Reeves is playing well, then he can actually trade Austin Reeves for this type of stuff that he be demanding as a player who wants stuff. But you know what I mean? You know, me personally as a fan, I don't want to trade Austin Reeves. But that's not the point. The point is LeBron James needs to see how the chess pieces need to move in order for him to get what he actually wants. That's what I'm saying. A lot of times he been doing things the wrong way, and it has it so that he falls short. And, you know, it is what it is. You don't have to stay that way. Even though he's in year 20, this is a present moment where things can be done differently. And I think it's time to start if you want to turn this thing around. You know, it's like, look, if you want different results, you got to do things differently. At the end of the day, LeBron James' record in the finals is what is it? 4-6? Is that what we're looking at? 4-6. I just think that it can be better going forward if we turn this thing around, lean on Anthony Davis, and empower these young players over the next 2 years to get better. You know what I mean? You turn Wenyen Gabriel, Austin Reeves, Troy Brown into their very best selves, Lonnie Walker, Kendrick Nunn, instead of looking at where they're at. thinking that you can't win with them right now, how about you look at yourself and say, I don't think I'm going to retire next year, and the chances are I ain't going to retire the year after that either. So the best thing for me to do is try to make these guys their very best self. And once that happens, now we got an asset class I can use, whether I want to keep them or trade them. So that's what it's about, man. Get them young players in place and believe in them, man. Don't snuff out their confidence because you're the king and don't believe in what it is that you can be in regards to a solution to the situation. Because it ain't them that you don't believe in, brother. That's what I'm here to tell you. If you really want to know the truth, it ain't them. And I tell KD the same thing. It ain't them that you don't believe in. You know what I mean? And I think that's what the fans been trying to tell you the whole time. And it's like, yo, I get it. I'm the first one to tell you, you're going to need help. The math will tell you, you need tall players, wingy players. It ain't as simple as being confident and that's it, going to get you a championship. But it's not about that. It's about the mentality and how you perform based on that mentality. If you come in with a defeatist attitude, it doesn't matter how much help you have. You can have those wingy long players. You still going to lose. Or you can come out with a team that doesn't have enough, but you can have all those people on a string with their minds completely locked in on what it is they have to do, and they're going to overachieve and beat teams that have those wingy long players who ain't focused, thinking they're coming in beating a team that they could be able to beat because they have those long wingy arms, but not focused on the game. Nah, they're going to get beat by those guys who are on a string, who are just going to do things fundamentally better each and every possession. So that's what I'm talking about, man. We need to understand all that we need to do right now in regards to this particular unit, the 15 men on the basketball floor and the coaching staff. They need to just continue to work on their tendencies. Don't allow anything in regards to wins and losses to determine whether or not you're up or down. A game like this tonight in Phoenix, you know they rebounded 60 times in the last game. The focus tonight for every player on the floor is to try to collect as many rebounds as possible. Everybody. I don't care who you are. You're trying to get boards. Because at the end of the night, if we're focused on what it is that we're supposed to be doing, we looked at the evidence of what Phoenix just did, and we're bringing that data to how our game plan is supposed to be structured. If we do that, and I think we've been very good at that. I think Darvin Ham has been excellent at that. If we continue to do that, we're going to continue to beat teams. Because what we're doing is we're learning, we're studying. We're not just saying, oh, well, let's go out here and let's win. It's not as simple as that. It's okay, who are we dealing with? Because we know we're going to see them again. What are their tendencies? What do they look like with certain players on the floor? All these different things we got to have. You have to do the homework. Because we're not a talented team, overly talented team. So we do have to study more, focus more, and take every possession seriously. And so, this brings me back to Bron. If he's not going to be a part of that solution, then we're going to scream, sit him down. You understand what I'm saying? Just like we were screaming, sit Kendrick Nunn. Just like we were screaming, sit Damian Jones. Just like we were screaming, sit Russell Westbrook. Just like we were screaming, fire Frank Vogel. We are going to say the same thing about our king. And we're going to say about anybody else who is a problem on that floor. Period. And I expect you to say it about me if I put on the uniform and play garbage. Nobody gets it. Nobody's safe from getting it, as I should say. We want to make sure that we're not bad like we were to start the season. And we know what made us that bad. We know what tendencies put us in that space. And it started with body language. It started with guys wanting to do their own thing, not caring about the unit. It started with guys not having the system in place, not being healthy, and things that are kind of outside of your control to start the season. But it also comes with not making the sacrifices, not taking the steps to look in the mirror and saying, yeah, I gotta sit down because we're not playing. I gotta shoot better or not shoot as much. I gotta shoot more. I got to try to find my rhythm. I gotta let other guys find their rhythm. Everybody has their own set of sacrifices on this team that they have to make in order for this thing to work. A guy like Kendrick Nunn, I cannot take bad shots. Matt Ryan can't take bad shots. Can't turn the ball over. You know, guy like Max Christie, I must rebound the ball. Everybody got their own thing they got to focus on, man. Damian Jones, I got to play good quality basketball with the minutes given. You know what I mean? It's everybody. Lonnie Walker, we're scoring. Efficiency. Get people involved. Be active defensively. Schroeder, don't be a liability defensively. High efficiency. Being patient with the minutes. These are all things that everybody has to be accountable for. Russell Westbrook, rebound the ball, turnovers down, body language high, come off the bench with a purpose, not just as a means of seeing it as a demotion. It ain't. It's strategy, literally. Everybody sees you as a Hall of Famer, and we are finding more faith and confidence in you as a Hall of Famer since you've done this. And that's what he needs to understand and believe. Like, yo, we have way more confidence in you as a basketball player because you see the fruit in doing something like this. This is chess, not checkers, and ain't nobody bigger than the program. You know what I mean? So now that everybody's on board, we're starting to see the results of what it is. And I dare a Phoenix Sun team to come in thinking they're playing against an old Laker team like we were 3 weeks ago and think they're going to win. Them and their teal uniforms going to get ran out the gym. And that's what I'm hoping to see tonight. I don't know why Phoenix has gone away from their color scheme. I like the floor. The Native American style floor is kind of dope. I even like the color teal, but I hate teal on that floor. Y'all know I love to point out the colors and stuff like that. I hate it. I don't know what the hell they're thinking. I don't know, but it's ugly, and I hope they don't wear it tonight, although I expect them to. But anyway, I just want to say that, man. Shit, ugly. Excuse my language. But anyway, so as we move forward, hopefully we can beat them in their teal uniforms, send them into a situation where they have yet another loss. I think they have 6 losses as of now. We want to give them that 7th one tonight on their home floor. Phoenix doesn't shoot the ball very well, even though Damian Lee can. And we know that. Obviously, Devin Booker can shoot threes all day. They have players that can shoot, but their issues have often been they don't defend the three-point shot very well, and they don't shoot it very well. That was the issue they had in the playoffs. I don't know if that's something they've shaken off with the new acquisitions of players. I'm just telling you what it was last year. I don't know. We'll see. But, role players all over the place. Role players that we can attack. They ain't that damn talented. After you get past Devin Booker, Bridges, and Ayton, the dudes is role players, man, to their core. Even if they playing well, they're role players, bro. They ain't that. We should be able to take it to them just like we took it to these last teams and barrel into them ultimately in a good way. Get Ayton in foul trouble. Be prepared for the punishment that Biyombo will provide you when you do so. You know, those guys it's so important to understand the size, man. I cannot stress it enough. That is really, really where we're going to win it. It's keeping a body on them dudes, pushing them back, flopping off of them accordingly, and making sure the foul trouble is something that they have on their minds all night long. You know what I'm saying? That's it. That's it. And after that, it's just about having a good scheme against Devin Booker. Because if Devin Booker gets in his Devin Booker bag, that can end the game right there for us. But they got to recognize that their bigs had better have some success against Anthony Davis. And I don't, you know what I mean? It's going to be tough for them too. They're going to have a tough night. But the fact that we only have one Anthony Davis and they have like 4 or 5 bigs to throw at us makes it so that our guards are going to have to shoot well in order for us to win. Yeah, it's going to have to be a good shooting night from our guards, which we've had. In our last game, Nunn, Westbrook, Walker, they all played well. Obviously, Austin Reeves went out and balled out to start the game, and in the second half wasn't asked to do a whole lot. But if his 3 balls falling like it did in that last game, Austin Reeves, we in trouble. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So as far as I can tell, we're going to have so many different names for Austin, because if he's stealing the ball, I'm calling him Austin Thieves. If he's shooting the ball, I'm calling him Austin Threeves. You know what I'm saying? We got nicknames for that guy. So it's going down over here as far as Laker Nation. We're excited about Austin, and the only thing for us now is to make sure that we have his money ready. I cannot stress this enough. We really, really, really want to sign this kid to a nice long contract and make sure he's a Laker for a long time, because we know what type of intellect he has. We know what type of upside he has, and we also know what type of discount we might be able to get based on the fact that he was an undrafted player. You know what I mean? But that probably ain't going to last long if he keeps on this trajectory. So we want to keep his bird rights, and we want to make sure that we know what we have in holding him. So that's what I got to say, man. That's what I got to say, man. It's about the bigs, about the boards. It's about turnovers. You know what I'm saying? We must understand beyond the shadow of a doubt that the Phoenix Suns are a team that is going to try to attack us on the boards. So that's what I got to say, man. That is the statement of the day. Of course, we're going to have as much conversation at the end of this game and at halftime as well. And that's pretty much the thought. BDL 44. Thank you all for watching. Oh, one more thing. The game is in Phoenix, and I believe it's at 7 o'clock. I believe it's at 7. For those who are wondering what time the game is, I think it's at 7, but I encourage everybody to check yourselves. The game definitely comes on tonight, and it is in Phoenix. So that's what I got. BDF44. I thank you all for watching.